Hello there! Today I will be showing you how to sew your own simple bag skirt. For this project, you will need approximately 2 to 2.5 meters of fabric. I'm using an old bed sheet I have no use for, but any non-stretch, medium weight fabric will do. Matching thread, 1 inch elastic, a soft measuring tape, pins, a water-soluble fabric marker, scissors, and safety pins. To start, you will need to take your waist measurement. I measured my waist at 28.5 inches. Take this number and multiply it by 1.7 to get your waistband measurement. For me, it was 28.5 times 1.7, which came to 48.45 inches, which I rounded up to 49 inches. Now for the skirt. We want more fabric in the skirt than the waistband, so I used the length of my fabric for this, which was 88 inches long. But if you are unsure of how much fabric to use, multiply your waist measurement by 3. This length will be cut into 2 pieces, as we will be putting pockets into the 2 side seams. You then need to decide how long you want your skirt to be. I chose a midi length, which on me is around 30 inches. It is now time to get to cutting. Start with your 2 skirt pieces. I measured the length I wanted the skirt to be and clipped and ripped the fabric along that line. Not all fabric will rip like this, so be careful, and when in doubt, just use scissors. I then cut this piece in half, so I have my front and back skirt pieces. I used the same snip and rip method to get a long rectangle that will be made into the waist tie. As this was an old sheet, I used the top edge as my waistband, since it's already ironed in half. I measured my desired length and shortened it down to 6 inches wide, as shown. Next is the pocket pieces. Use your hand as an idea for sizing and cut 4 copies. I made my pockets quite small, but you are free to make them to any size you desire. I then cut out 6 small squares. These will be turned into the belt loops on the waistband of your skirt. Now that all the fabric is cut out, you should have the following pieces. 2 skirt rectangles. Mine were measured out to be 44 inches by 30 inches. 1 waistband at 49 inches by 6 inches. 1 waist tie at 3 inches by 88 inches. 6 belt loop squares that are 2 inches by 2 inches. And finally, 4 pocket pieces, the approximate size of your hand. We can now get to sewing. First, we need to wind up a bobbin of thread. 1 full bobbin should do for the entire project. Next, we want to get our belt loops prepped. Fold each piece in half and sew along the top and side edges. Once sewn, pull each piece right side out and give a good iron. Set these aside for now. Next, take your long skirt tie piece and pin in half as shown. Mark an opening in the middle and mark each end to a point to add a nice detail. Sew along the edges, making sure to leave that opening unsewn. Clip the points. Turn right side out and iron. Once that is complete, I bring the tie back to the sewing machine and sew along the entire outer edge. This will close the small opening we left in the tie. And now your tie is complete. Go ahead and set this aside. Now grab the waistband. We want to attach the 2 ends together to create a loop. Sew along this edge and give it a press along the seam. And iron the length in half. Bring the waistband back to the sewing machine and sew one long stitch along the top inch of the fabric. This will give the waistband the top ruffle that is the defining feature of a bag skirt. Next, you need to decide where you want your belt loops on the waistband. I split each side into 4 even points and marked them with my pen. This is where you want to attach your loops. Pin each loop to each point you previously marked. Then sew right along the top edge, following the previous stitch. Take your time with this and go slow to line it up nice and neat. You want to catch the top millimeter of the belt loop in this stitch. Repeat this process for all 6 loops, cutting away any loose threads. Next, we want to add the pockets. Mark 4 inches down from the top edge on either side of the skirt pieces. Line your pocket pieces under the markings, right sides facing, and sew along the edge where the 2 pieces meet. I then move over to my serger and serge along each edge of the skirt. Alternatively, you could also sew a zigzag stitch along these seams. Or, if your fabric is less prone to fraying, simply pink all of your raw seams. You then want to iron that pocket piece out nice and flat. Repeat for either side of both skirt pieces. Next, you will want to take both the front and the back skirt pieces and line up each side seam, right sides facing. Make sure to line up the pocket pieces and sew along each side edge, right along the serging you previously completed. Iron this edge open, making sure to iron the pocket towards the back of the skirt. I then brought the skirt back over to the serger and carefully sewed the edges of the pocket. Feel free to finish your raw edges in any way you see fit. Next, you want to work on the hem of the skirt. I ironed the bottom edge in twice, each time by 1/2 inch. Next, you want to sew this down. I sewed it along the folded edge approximately 1/2 inch from the end of the skirt. You next want to change the stitch on your machine to a long basting stitch. Make sure to pull both the top and the bottom thread on your machine out by a few inches. This will help with your gathering process. Sew 2 lines of basting stitches approximately 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch from the top edge of the fabric along the entire top edge of the skirt loop. Pull the top threads you left long to gather the fabric. Then pull up a chair, put on a good TV show or movie, and settle into the process of gathering down the skirt length. You want to pull and distribute the gathers down to the same circumference as the waistband. This will take some time and fiddling. Just keep pinning and adjusting the gathers right sides together till you are happy with how the fabric is distributed. Don't worry too much if this isn't perfect, as the skirt will be gathered down further. Take your fabric bundle and sew along this edge you pinned. Go slow and help the gathers through if the presser foot shifts them out of place. If you have a walking foot for your machine, this would be a perfect time to use it. Alas, I at present do not possess one myself. Now that the skirt and the waistband are attached, we need to pull out those long basting stitches we sewed before. Depending on how you gathered this skirt, this shouldn't take very long. Then bring your skirt over to the ironing board and smooth out the ruffles and the seam you just sewed. I also marked the bottom edge of the inside edge of the waistband by 1/2 inch and ironed this bit in. making sure to add lots of pins to hold the edge in place, as my fabric is silky and likes to shift. We want the inside edge of the waistband to come down slightly lower than the front edge. With that complete, we bring the skirt back to the sewing machine. With the outside of the skirt facing you, we want to sew right along the seam we sewed the skirt to the waistband. If you pinned the back of the waistband down properly, this seam will catch the bottom millimeter of the waistband, as shown here. When doing this, make sure to leave an inch or two open to allow a space to insert the elastic into the waistband. Cut a piece of 1-inch elastic approximately 3 inches shorter than your waist measurement, or whatever feels comfortable when holding it up along your waist. Using a safety pin, insert the elastic into the waist casing we just sewed. Once pulled through, pin both sides of the elastic together and distribute the elastic through the waistband, making sure there isn't any kind of kinks or turns in the elastic. You then want to sew the two edges of the elastic together. I sewed a square with a slash through it to keep it nice and secure, but feel free to do this in any way you see fit. With the elastic now in the waistband, you want to sew close that opening that we left open earlier. And there you have it! Your skirt is now complete. All that needs to be done is to thread the tie you sewed earlier through the belt loops in the skirt. I hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up and comment down below what you would like to see next. Thank you for watching, and see you next time!